Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott and I'm the Emperor of Stomaria. Today I want to give a progress report for Southwood, a Stomarian province.
This is how nations are built and empires are forged. For every nation that becomes integrated into the empire, for every territory that we acquire, for every citizen that joins us, for every drop of water we collect, for every seed that we sow, for every watt of energy we produce, for every silver bar that we stamp, we are securing our future.
So the last progress report for Southwood was actually back in May, some 2 months ago. And the reason that the June update, the June progress report, was not made or not advertised was because that was an incredibly busy month for myself and for Stomaria in particular, with the Imperial Summit being hosted at Southwood, taking place in mid-June, where a lot of people could already see the woodland and what we've been doing and what we've been up to. And the lead up to that, the final report at the end of May, that was obviously released in early June. And a lot has happened up to that point, but not a lot has happened since then. In fact, it was only in the last few weeks or so where enough has really happened that I would need to report on it or feel that I should report on it. But the progress at Southwood is nevertheless continuing to inspire a lot of people around us in terms of what we can achieve together. And this goes without saying, but the Kingdom of Wayward have been instrumental in helping to shape Southwood into the territory that it has become. Because for those that don't know, Southwood is a territory of Stomaria, but it is adjacent to Wayward South, which is a territory of Wayward. Now, obviously, Wayward is a member state of the Empire, so both territories are imperial holdings, if you like. They're both territories of the Empire. But there is a distinction, with one being owned by Stomarian, the Stomarian imperial family, and the other, the Waywardian royal family. Now, with all that said, I just wanted to start off by saying that the ongoing issue that we had in previous progress reports with all of the debris, the waste, at the entrance to Southwood, it was such an eyesore, and I really wanted rid of it. And it was only about a week, maybe not even a week, maybe it was only a few days before the start of the Imperial Summit on the 16th, 17th and 18th of June, that we actually got rid of all of it. At the very last moment, we managed to get someone to come and collect it. So the entranceway is now a lot grander, it's a lot cleaner, and it's a lot more inviting, which is fantastic. Now, in terms of the vegetable patches, they have been doing exceptionally well. There have been a few that have not stood the test of time. They have died off, they have not grown for whatever reason, but they have done exceptionally well. So we have the potatoes, which have continued to grow. They're not quite ready yet. I did have a little look. I did dig some up to see if they were ready, and they're not quite there yet. I think the end of August, so in another month or so, they should be ready for harvesting, which is fantastic. We obviously have beetroot there as well, which is doing relatively well. And we have strawberries, which again are doing very well. We had the first strawberry harvest, if you like, nothing to speak of. As well as strawberries, we obviously have the raspberry plants as well, and those too are thriving. We don't have any berries on there yet, but they are thriving. And quite close to where the raspberries are thriving, we also have the tomato plants. We're doing exceptionally well. I mean, I struggle to believe just how small they were when I popped them into the ground with virtually no expectations of them growing. Of all the things that we planted, the tomatoes I thought were going to be the least likely to grow, that or the grapevine. And they've not only exploded in size, but they're now starting to bear fruit, which is fantastic to see. We also have the Brussels sprouts, which are doing very well. We have the carrots, which are doing very well. We have the lettuce, which is doing extraordinarily well. In fact, when I was there last to do some weeding, I had to actually pull a caterpillar off or two to protect it. So I'm not quite sure how I'll get around with that, just without caging it all. But you know, the occasional caterpillar here and there won't do too much damage, I'm sure. The grapevine, which again is something that I'm not expected to take. You'd think, you know, grapevine, kind of like Mediterranean setting, probably not going to do very well in the south of England in the middle of a woodland, but it is thriving and it is growing in all directions. And you know, who's to say that we won't get some grapes before too long, because this grapevine had been established before and did produce a lot of grapes before. So it's obviously been cut back down, but if it can grow back to where it was before, it will yield grapes, and we will have some Stomarian grapes, which would be, again, just fantastic to see. We also have, to a lesser extent, I suppose, I think is it swede and broccoli, I'm going to say. But again, they're not growing exceptionally well, but they are getting there. We also have the bellboys, which are growing, and the cucumbers, again, have done exceptionally well. We only had 3 cucumber plants, 1 died, but the other 2 have absolutely exploded in size, and I look forward to being able to utilize those at some point in the very near future. And of course, we have the rhubarb, which is growing exceptionally well. It's really started to explode in the last couple of weeks, which is surprising, because there was a time where it was just literally stagnant. It didn't seem to be moving at all in terms of its growth, but it has really exploded in size, and I'm really looking forward to being able to harvest some of that. Maybe get some rhubarb and custard or something going. But yeah, the actual produce at Southwood within Stomaria is really taking off, and it is fantastic to see, because I have had no shortage of people telling me that you'll never be able to grow anything in the woods. And this was always a peculiar sort of position to take from my own perspective, because not only did we buy the woodland territory with an established bed in there, it literally had what they call a hugel bed, in which they grew various produce, but the Waywoodian community have been growing produce there for a very long time now. In fact, they offered me some guidance in terms of what kind of fruits and vegetables do grow there, and we have grown those in addition to a wide range of other fruits and vegetables. And the consensus, I think, I mean, I was having a conversation with King Raoul just the other day, and he said he was very surprised and impressed with what we had been able to grow, and it has given him something to think about in terms of growing additional produce potentially in Wayward South. I think the lettuce in particular, I think he was quite impressed with, because it has done exceptionally well. But yeah, produce, again, is just a fantastic aspect to this nation building process that we're going through. Because at the end of the day, as I keep saying, it's all about providing your own food, providing your own water, providing your own energy, being able to sustain yourself in a very real, practical sense. That is what genuine independence looks like. You have some people, writing independence declarations and posting it to their local member of parliament or senator or whatever particular representative they might have, depending on where they are in the world. But it's so pointless, it's so meaningless. Just go out there and do it. Go and build something. That is what matters. And that is what we are doing. And we are doing it very successfully. And I don't think anyone could argue that. And we are now even eyeing up the next potential land purchase, next potential territory of Stomaria in the coming months ahead. There are a few question marks over some of the potential plots that we're considering, but I will be keeping you all in the loop as and when we do make that next purchase, that and take that next step in expanding the empire further, in expanding Stomaria further. Now, in terms of other aspects of Southwood, something else that has been happening is the flocks, the chickens, which were at Southwood. They were Waywoodian chickens, but they were still at Southwood. It was there was a transition phase, if you like, because Southwood obviously used to belong to the Kingdom of Waywood before the imperial family purchased it. But there was I suppose an informal arrangement in some sense that they can continue to utilize the land for as long as was necessary in order for them to fully transition off of the land, not necessarily in its entirety as such, but just so that we could actually utilize the land that we had just purchased. But this is where the flock comes into it. The flock of chickens that were at Southwood with the pen around it. It was a bit of an eyesore, not going to lie. It's one of the few aspects of Southwood that hasn't been touched yet, or hadn't been touched yet. But in recent weeks, the flocks have been dispersed. They have either been sold off or given away or relocated to other parts of Waywood. And the fencing, the pen, that is now all starting to come down. And again, it's going to be great when it's actually fully taken down. And once it is, we'll start to establish, or continue rather, that fence line that we have been building using the new stakes and chicken wire and all the rest of it, in order to just tidy things up. And then there's going to be a lot of landscaping involved, where the chicken pen was, where the chickens have been scratching around for literally years. So this is pre-Stomarian days, before Stomaria was even founded, there was a chicken pen there, and so obviously the chickens have had their way with that land, and so some landscaping in terms of leveling it out and adjusting it in some form or another will be necessary. But we will be looking to utilize that land which was behind the shed, for those that remember previous reports, and I look forward to being able to again take that next step in just developing more land and utilizing that land in some capacity. It doesn't necessarily have to be agricultural. It doesn't need to be anything more complicated than having extra space to do something with. But the idea that we can just keep on developing that woodland as we go down the woodland, as we start at the entranceway, and then we have the fairy garden, the memorial garden, then followed by the agricultural heart of the empire, and then we have the shed, and we have the archery range, and that's where the soil was as well. And then you had the chicken pen, but now that's gone, so now we can think about something to do with that. Maybe a communal area, but I don't think it's necessary with Waywood South just adjacent to Southwood, because that is already largely a communal area in its own right. There's not a lot of agriculture going on there at the moment, because most of the land mass is utilized for communal events, which is fantastic because it complements the territories quite well. But that all said, I look forward to seeing what we can do in the next month or two with that land at Southwood, with the additional space, and that'll be for the next progress report, I suspect, and hopefully you'll get a more full, in-depth walkthrough, like in previous reports. I just didn't have time to do a walkthrough when I was last there, which was a few days ago. I was feeling quite unwell, actually, when I got down there, and I didn't have it in me to actually film something. So hopefully next time I will be fit and ready to actually film firsthand, walk through the woodland in its entirety, and to show off what we've been doing and just how far we've come in terms of the development of the woodland, the development of Stomaria, and the development of the Empire. So, with all that in mind, if you did support Stomaria and you wanted to show support for Stomaria, then please feel free to give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.